Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video that will help you improve your English while we explore the fascinating life of one of history's greatest figures, Cyrus the Great. Have you ever heard of a leader who built one of the largest empires of the ancient world, and at the same time, was considered a fair and tolerant ruler? How did a single man manage to conquer powerful peoples, including Babylon, and still be respected to this day? Cyrus the Great was much more than just a conqueror. He changed the way empires were governed, created a legacy that influenced civilizations for centuries, and left such a profound impact that he is still remembered as a model of leadership. In this video, we will explore his journey from childhood to his grand conquests, understand his philosophy of government, and discover why he is considered one of the greatest leaders of all time. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as this helps us continue bringing amazing content to you. Now, let's dive into the story of Cyrus the Great. The story of Cyrus the Great begins during a time of intense transformations in the Middle East. He was born around 600 BC in the region of Persia, which today corresponds to Iran. But his story doesn't begin just with his birth, it has roots in a powerful lineage that would help shape the future of the ancient world. Cyrus belonged to the Achaemenid dynasty, one of the most important in Persian history. His father, Cambyses I, was king of Anshan, a small vassal kingdom under the Median Empire. His mother, Mandane, was the daughter of the Median king Astyages, making Cyrus a direct descendant of both Persian and Median nobility. This connection would be crucial for his future achievements. But, as with many great stories of antiquity, there is a touch of myth involved. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, Astyages had a prophetic dream, in which his grandson, Cyrus, would one day take his throne. Fearing this prophecy, he ordered the baby to be killed shortly after birth. The man tasked with this cruel mission was Harpagus, a trusted general of Astyages. However, Harpagus could not bring himself to kill the baby and instead gave him to a shepherd named Mithridates, who raised him as his own son. Cyrus grew up believing he was just an ordinary boy, the son of shepherds. But according to legend, his true identity could not remain hidden for long. In a famous episode, Cyrus, still a child, demonstrated an unusual authority while playing with other children, displaying a natural leadership that caught the attention of the Median authorities, who brought the young boy before Astyages. Upon realizing that his grandson was alive, Astyages supposedly decided not to kill him, but severely punished Harpagus for his disobedience. Harpagus's resentment against his king would later become a decisive factor in Cyrus's revolt against the Medes. Cyrus not only survived but thrived. When he finally assumed his royal identity and returned to the Persian court, he began preparing for a grand destiny. Persian culture emphasized values such as honor, discipline, and military strategy, and Cyrus mastered these aspects. He also learned about diplomacy, which later became one of his greatest strengths. Unlike other brutal conquerors, Cyrus developed a more tolerant and inclusive approach, which allowed him to unite various peoples under his rule without relying solely on force. Around 559 BC, Cyrus ascended to the Persian throne after the death of his father, Cambyses I. But he was not satisfied with ruling just a small kingdom. He had something much greater in mind, the creation of the largest empire the world had ever seen. At just 30 years old, Cyrus had already become the king of Persia. However, he was not yet in control of a great empire. At that time, Persia was still a vassal kingdom under the dominance of the Median Empire, ruled by his grandfather, Astyages. But this submission would not last long. Cyrus knew that to achieve his ambitions, he first had to free himself from Median rule and consolidate his power in the region. And that is exactly what he did. Astyages, the king of the Medes, was known for his arrogance and the dissatisfaction he generated among his subjects. His rule was marked by oppressive administration, and many within the Median army were unhappy. Taking advantage of this weakness, Cyrus began forming strategic alliances with discontented nobles and military leaders who saw him as a fairer and more promising alternative. One of the most important figures among them was Harpagus, the general who had been cruelly punished by Astyages years before. When Cyrus finally declared his rebellion against the Medes around 553 BC, he already had an army strengthened by deserters from the enemy's own ranks. Furious, Astyages sent his troops to crush the rebellion. But when the battle began, a large portion of the Median soldiers defected and joined Cyrus, including Harpagus himself. This completely turned the tide of the war. Without a reliable army to defend him, Astyages was captured and deposed in 550 BC. Unlike many rulers of the time, Cyrus did not execute his grandfather. Instead, he allowed Astyages to live and consolidated his rule over the Medes without unnecessary bloodshed. This kind of clemency and pragmatism would become a hallmark of his reign. With the fall of the Medes, Cyrus unified Persians and Medes under a single government, officially creating the Persian Empire. But he did not stop there. He knew that the stability of his new empire depended on expanding its borders and ensuring that neighboring powers did not pose a threat. His next targets would be Lydia and Babylon, two of the wealthiest and most influential powers of the time. However, to defeat them, Cyrus would need not only military strength, but also strategic intelligence and diplomacy skills he had mastered with excellence. Babylon was one of the most magnificent cities of the ancient world. With its towering walls, legendary hanging gardens, and rich cultural heritage, it seemed impossible to conquer. But Cyrus found a way. The Babylonian king, Nabonidus, was deeply unpopular. He had neglected traditional religious practices, alienated the priestly elite, and faced opposition within his own army. Cyrus took advantage of this dissatisfaction to turn Babylonian factions against their ruler. In 539 BC, the Persians defeated the Babylonians at the Battle of Opis. But the real brilliance of Cyrus lay in how he captured the city. According to historical accounts, he diverted the course of the Euphrates River, which flowed through Babylon, lowering the water level enough for his troops to enter through the riverbed and slip into the city undetected. The entry was so peaceful that many citizens barely noticed they had been conquered. Instead of looting the city, Cyrus was welcomed as a liberator. One of Cyrus's most famous achievements was the liberation of the Jewish people exiled in Babylon. After taking the city, he allowed them to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple, a gesture that earned him great respect in biblical tradition. This act of tolerance and respect for local cultures became a hallmark of the Persian Empire, setting it apart from other conquerors of the time. With Babylon under his control, Cyrus became the ruler of one of the greatest empires in ancient history. But his legacy was not just about military conquests, he also revolutionized the way empires were governed. Cyrus the Great was not just a brilliant military strategist, he was also a visionary in the art of governance. His empire grew rapidly, but unlike many conquerors who ruled with an iron fist, Cyrus adopted an innovative approach, tolerance and respect for local cultures. His administrative methods revolutionized how empires were governed, ensuring that his vast network of territories not only remained under control, but also flourished. The Persian Empire was one of the most diverse in the ancient world. Under Cyrus's rule, it encompassed a vast array of peoples, including Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Lydians, Assyrians, Jews, Egyptians, and many more. Each had its own languages, religions, and traditions. Instead of imposing Persian culture on everyone, Cyrus did something unprecedented. He allowed each people to maintain its customs, religions, and local forms of government. This administrative model not only prevented revolts, but also strengthened the empire. Local rulers were granted autonomy to govern their territories as long as they pledged loyalty to Cyrus and paid tribute. To manage such a vast territory, Cyrus implemented a system called satrapies. The empire was divided into provinces, each governed by a satrap, a type of governor who reported directly to the king. The satraps had the authority to make local decisions, but Cyrus maintained firm control through regular inspections to prevent corruption, an efficient postal system for fast communication, a standing army ready to intervene in case of revolts. This model proved so effective that it continued to be used for centuries, even by later conquerors like Alexander the Great. One of the most remarkable aspects of Cyrus's rule was his policy of religious tolerance. He believed that a strong empire should not be built on oppression, but rather on respect for its people's beliefs. The liberation of the Jewish exiles in Babylon is one of the best-known examples of this philosophy. He not only freed them, but also funded the reconstruction of the temple in Jerusalem. This led to Cyrus being recognized as a liberator in the Judeo-Christian tradition, to the point where he is referred to as the Anointed One of the Lord in the Bible, Isaiah 45 verse 1. Additionally, he respected and preserved the temples and gods of each conquered region, ensuring the loyalty of priests and the local population. Another groundbreaking aspect of Cyrus's rule was his vision of justice. Unlike many kings of his time, who ruled through fear, Cyrus sought to be just with his subjects. He established rules against forced slavery, promoted equality among different peoples, and avoided cruel punishments. His policy was based on respect and diplomacy, which helped maintain the stability of the empire. This approach became so famous that centuries later, Cyrus was used as an inspiration for the first concepts of human rights. With a stable and peaceful empire, the economy flourished. Trade was encouraged, roads were built to facilitate the transportation of goods, and a standardized system of weights and measures was implemented. The conquest of Lydia brought a crucial innovation to the empire, the use of gold and silver coins, which facilitated commercial transactions. This helped establish the Persian Empire as an economic powerhouse, capable of financing its expansions and maintaining a strong army. Cyrus did not just conquer territories, he created a model of government that would serve as a reference for centuries. But a concrete example of his administrative and humanitarian vision is recorded in one of history's most important documents, the Cyrus Cylinder. Among the many legacies left by Cyrus, one of the most impressive is the Cyrus Cylinder, a clay artifact discovered in 1879, which contains a written record of his policies following the conquest of Babylon. The Cyrus Cylinder is an official document from Cyrus's reign, written in cuneiform script. It describes how he took Babylon without resistance, freed oppressed peoples, and restored their temples and religious traditions. In the text, Cyrus presents himself as a just king, chosen by the gods to rule with wisdom. He claims to have restored peace in Babylon and allowed exiled peoples to return to their lands, something confirmed by the Bible in the case of the Jews. Many scholars consider this cylinder to be the first recorded declaration of human rights, as it establishes principles of religious freedom and respect for local cultures. Today, the Cyrus Cylinder is seen as a symbol of just governance. In 1971, the United Nations recognized it as one of the first declarations of human rights, and copies of the cylinder are displayed in various countries as an example of tolerance and diplomacy. Cyrus did not just build a great empire, he shaped the way leaders should govern, with respect and justice. After decades of conquests and innovative governance, Cyrus met his end around 530 BC in battle against the Massagetae tribe in the steppes of Central Asia. According to legend, he was killed by Queen Tomaris, who sought revenge for the death of her son. Cyrus left behind a vast empire that became the foundation for the powerful Persian Empire under his successors. His administrative model, with respect for diversity and the rights of conquered peoples, influenced leaders throughout history, including Alexander the Great, and even modern concepts of human rights. His tomb, located in Pasargadae, still exists today and stands as a symbol of his lasting impact. Cyrus was not just a conqueror, he was a visionary whose influence echoes to this day.